did that one. Good evening, everyone. Everyone take a deep breath. We did it. I would like to call the Thursday, June 22nd, 2023 Peninsula School District Board of Directors meeting to order. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are going to approve the agenda first. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Jennifer and seconded by Chuck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. The agenda is approved. This is one of my favorite board meetings. I think I speak for all of us up here because we have so many wonderful people to celebrate at the end of another fantastic school year. So we're going to start this evening with the Ellen Fay Award, and I'd like to invite Jana Rush up. Jana is our Director of Special Education, and she's going to talk to us about the Ellen Fay Award and who has received it this year.
Thank you very much.
Can you tap it and see? No, it's not. Oh, here comes Jaden. And Tanya. There you go.
Now it's on. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to invite Kelly Talent, please, up here. She. So Kelly is this year's recipient of the Ellen Fay Award. She was nominated by multiple people within the district and is very deserving of this. So I have a few words here that I will share. And so here, Kelly Talent is a dedicated educator who sees possibilities in every student. She does not see barriers, but challenges and opportunities, and she works with her students with grace, determination, and enthusiasm. Kelly began her career at Peninsula School District in December of 2006. She started as a substitute teacher for the ET&T program at Gig Harbor High School while obtaining her degree in special education. She also taught 9th and 10th grade students in the ET&T program before transitioning to CTP nearly 10 years ago. Over the years, she's attended many professional development opportunities and attends Pierce County's transition meetings monthly to gain resources for her students and their families. In addition, she is the right response trainer for staff within our district, sharing her expertise in strategies to support students and staff when behaviors become challenging. She's developed great relationships with support services, community organizations, and outside agencies for her students and provides them with amazing opportunities when they graduate from CTP. She prepares students for employment by assisting them with job applications, writing cover letters and resumes, interview skills, and more. She serves as a mentor to teachers new to special education because her desire is to make a difference and build capacity for her program. Students and staff describe her as completely selfless, a person who puts students and program needs first no matter what, a leader with humor, and an amazing multitasker. Kelly's commitment to excellence and to making sure every child every day has an opportunity to succeed beyond school is commendable. Her students and colleagues benefit from her high energy and determination. Thank you so much, Kelly. Yep. Parents, students, and staff, my mom and dad.
Oh my gosh, where's mom and dad?
Mom and dad, come
I'm going to put this right there for you.
Yeah, mom and dad.
Right there. Very, oh, good.
Oh, we're gonna be.
That's not allowed. That makes my heart full. Here we go. Oh, it is the best.
Is this for Kelly?
Yes.
I heard that. So a little bit about our community transition program. We have students 18 to 21s with disabilities, and our goal is to help get them employment. We support them in daily living skills. We help them find housing, independent living when they leave our program. We have 12 para staff that work in our program with us, so we have a lot of staff that support our students as well. I love working there because I love the connections we get with our families. And when they leave our program, it's like a friend leaving. But they always seem to come back and find us. So thank you for the Ellen Fay Award. I am so honored and I am so excited to get it. Again, just thank you for it.
You know, I have to say, your program is one of the highlights. Your barbecues are so amazing. I love the program. Your graduation is enough to bring all of us to tears. And the fact that you have so many staff that are committed to children in true inclusion form, absolutely getting into the community and setting themselves up for success as they become adults. It's just, I'm humbled and honored to know of your program and know all of you. So thank you for every time you invite. I think I try to come almost every time. I'm pretty good. And I love it so much. So, all right, and congratulations.
And I will just have to tag on from the board's perspective. We are just incredibly proud of this program and thankful to you, Kelly, and your team. We are blown away by the work that you do and the strides that we see in our students. We talk every day up here about wanting our students to be included and wanting them to make gains and wanting them to feel part of something bigger than they are. And just attending the graduation and seeing the slideshows of the things that they work on all year long, we just know that you have created a space where our kids are getting everything that they need and they are thriving, and it's really, really amazing to see. So we're super proud of you. Couldn't think of a better person to receive this award this year. Yeah, please, any board members, feel free to.
Yeah, and just kind of a full circle moment. One of your students actually is employed where I work at Phi Architecture, which is right down at the Narrows Office Park. And he has Ian has truly become part of our work environment, part of our culture. He's on our website as one of our team members, and he's really, his presence has made our office a better place. So.
All right, well, congratulations, Kelly. We are going to move on to the Karen Flynn Award. and I will read the script that we have every year explaining what that award is. Karen Flynn Award began in 2004 with Karen herself receiving the first presentation upon her retirement in recognition of her outstanding service to the students, staff, and patrons of the Peninsula School District. Karen served as the executive assistant to the superintendent and board for 5 years, and prior to that was the office manager for Gig Harbor High School. Karen was universally recognized as someone who consistently went above and beyond for the district. Her work and advocacy on behalf of students was truly legendary and deserving of this namesake recognition. The award was established to honor her when she retired and to memorialize and perpetuate her remarkable spirit of giving. The Peninsula School Board continues to honor Karen Flynn, and the essence of the award by annually recognizing someone in the district who, like Karen, quietly and continually goes above and beyond. Someone whose work we recognize as having a profound and positive impact on the lives of our students and our community as a whole. This is the only recognition that is solely nominated, selected, and awarded by the Peninsula School District Board of Directors. The board has selected, well, okay, that's the end of that speech. So it's usually one person, and so I would say it's a really, really joyful process for us. Throughout the year, we watch what people are doing, we go to events, we really pay attention, and it's almost always something that we see that strikes us, a quality and somebody that we see working with students, and we just kind of know this is a special person. And then we talk about it throughout the year. Usually we check in with some supervisors or other staff members to make sure we're on track, and the deeper we dig on these individuals, the more we find out about how amazing they are and the contributions that they have made are. This year, we waded through so many people. It is fun, but it's never easy. And we came down to 2, and we could not decide. And so we decided that since it's a board award, and we are the board, that this year we were going to give it to 2 people. So yesterday, Jennifer and Creston and I had the honor of going to Goodman Middle School to award the first recipient, Julie Allison, for her 30-plus years of service to the district. And we don't often make road shows, but it was really fun to do it in front of students. But tonight we brought a team here that I would like to call up to actually announce who the award is going to, because I think these people could probably speak more to it than we could. So I would like to invite our Gig Harbor High School staff up to present this award.
Thank you so much. Full confession, Todd, I lied to you.
You did.
In a meeting, in a moment, I was like, how am I going to get him to a board meeting? And I'm like, it's school's out. What am I going to say? I'm like, Todd, they just really need to hear from the counseling team. And he's like, and then we got his wife involved and the counseling team involved. So you're not actually here for that reason. Did you figure that out? He thought he was coming to share some of what we shared at the Faith Leaders meeting, which was, just the challenges that we faced post-COVID in terms of just supporting our students. And so Todd, come on up. You have to come up here now. Hi. Hi.
You're in trouble.
I could not, as you read that, Natalie, I could not have said better words in terms of what this person represents. He is the perfect individual for this award. His quiet leadership, his servant-heartedness, his desire just to do whatever he can to help, no matter what it is, he steps in. And if I were to reach out across the globe and ask for everybody who's been impacted by Todd Davis, the line would be down the street. It would be, it's just phenomenal, the impact he's had, whether it's in his counseling role or in his coaching role, his heart and his deep passion for kids. He just really believes that if you can touch one life and then another life and then another life, he just keeps going, and now he's retiring. Anyway.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, come right here. So here are some things that his team shared about him. Yeah. Yeah. from Teresa, my favorite male counselor. He's also our only male counselor, but it's okay. Todd is an amazing team leader and a collaborative, supportive team member. He exudes patience, kindness, professionalism, and positivity. He will be greatly missed. And then from Barrett, who's right over here. I had the privilege of having my office right next to the favorite male counselor at Gig Harbor High School, also known as the GOAT, the greatest of all time counselor, also known as Mr. Todd Davis this past year. I have overheard countless conversations that Mr. Davis has had with students, parents, athletes, and his peers. The one consistent thing that can be said about all of those conversations is that they all were honest, kind, and straight from the heart. And that, my friends, is Todd Davis, and he will be missed by many. From Jamie Eklund, Todd is the GOAT. Yes, the greatest of all time. Favorite male counselor. Do you see a theme here? A mentor and a friend. It has been an honor and a privilege to work with and learn from Todd over the past 8 years. He not only builds relationships in the counseling office, but also in the halls, on the basketball court, baseball field, and in the community. He is not only a great counselor, he's a great human. Thank you for your years of service, Todd. From Jessica Sampson, Todd Davis is a mentor and a friend. He's a steadfast for his colleagues and students and is devoted to his Tides family more than anyone know. And finally, from Lillian Amrine, compassionate, genuine, friendly, hardworking, responsible, and a person of integrity are words I would use to describe the idea guy that is Todd Davis. Anyone who has had the privilege of working with him is left with a sense of positivity, encouragement, belonging from being on his team. Even through COVID, his dedication to serve our families did not suffer. I'm going to miss him as a coworker. However, I know that we will be friends always, because when you're friends of Todd, you're like friends for life. That's just the way it is. And you know, I think probably one of the hardest moments this year. Yeah, you might be behind me. I know you're gonna talk in a minute. It was at our faith leaders meeting, and we had a faith leaders meeting with our community, and we brought in some of the counselors from the district, and Todd got to share just how hard it has been as a counselor walking through these last few years with our students and our high schoolers, and he deeply feels for our kids and loves them so much, and it's been a hard, profound journey and a privilege. And I am so much better as a leader because I got to have Todd Davis in my life. So thank you so much for recognizing him. I cannot thank you enough. Now make him talk.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I was ready to talk about kids because that's why I did what I do. And it's not, this isn't award isn't just for me. If you have to have a good support staff, like our admin team that we do have. I've been blessed with great counseling teams over the years, and this is the best by far that we've had. And so it's not me that's getting this award. I think it's for all of us. And yes, it's been hard, but that's when you get into education, you know it's going to be hard. I couldn't be a teacher, you know, because you're in the front line every single day. You got 33 kids, or you know, and it's tough. You know, I get them one-on-one, or if I want to go into a class, I can do that. I love what I do, and I'm excited about the retirement part, but I'm gonna really miss the kids. And so, thank you. I wasn't paying attention really about the award because I didn't. So I apologize, but it's, yeah, so I'll read the script, and I'm honored to be recognized. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to. Oh, I gotta pick, okay.
I just wanted to follow up on just a couple of stories, and if anyone else from the board would like to share, please feel free while we're celebrating Mr. Davis. I have, like I said, 2 stories to share from literally my first moments in Gig Harbor, and I recently shared this with Todd, and to my most recent moments as of an hour and a half ago. Stories about Mr. Davis. So it's been almost 7 years since we made the decision to move here, and we really picked it out of a map, a place that we thought would be cool, and started to research the schools, as one does as a military family, just trying to figure out where you want to move. So we bought a plane ticket and came to Gig Harbor on a whim for a weekend, and I just walked into Gig Harbor High School and asked if someone would show us around, and Todd was there that day. And I worked in a high school at the time, and I can tell you the school that I worked in would never have done that. You have to make an appointment. They're just far too busy. But we were there for a good hour and a half. He toured us around the school. He was genuinely interested in the interests of my children. He came up with some great ideas where he thought they would fit in, and they did. I have one who's graduated and one who is going to be a senior and one who's going to be a sophomore. And our last name starts with a W, therefore they are Todd's kids as well. So Todd, you were the first person we met in Gig Harbor, and that is not an exaggeration, and you welcomed us with open arms, and I think you really embodied exactly what we were looking for in a school district. I had no idea that interaction would lead to this position or this work, but thank you for building that place for kids, and thank you for walking with my own kids. And leading up into just an hour ago, I want to let you know that you know who did pass you-know-what class, and thank you for literally chasing him down in the hallway and making sure that he had everything done. So, and I know to the very end, which, I mean, there's a couple more gray hairs right here, but it's not because it's my kid, it's because it's one of your kids, and I am certain that you did that for every single kid that you serve, and that you know them so well, and that you hold them accountable, and it's just evident that you really care about each of these kids, and I'm very proud to be on a board that honors that and thanks you for it. So that's all for me. If anyone else, I know you have some experience as well.
Well, I just wanted to add that this was a hard process for a couple of reasons that have really been mentioned for the board and for me. When Natalie said we had to pick one person after we had already narrowed it down to the 2, I responded back, I cannot. I said all of my kids were in Julie Allison's band, and that was an incredible experience. And my kids went through Gig Harbor High School as well, and my son played baseball on the C team for Todd Davis. And so just the influence that you had on my kids was fantastic, exactly as has been described. So congratulations to you. And I think the other really hard piece I'm sure for all of us, is that you both are amazing and you both are retiring. So it's like, yay for you. But I mean, you deserve it, and that's great. Thank you so much for your service, and we appreciate you, and I hope you'll stick around to give us your wisdom and insights for the Faith Leaders Group and going forward. Thanks.
Okay, so we're moving on now to the business portion of the board meeting. So all are welcome to stay and watch, but we will not be offended if you choose to take off. So go enjoy this beautiful summer evening. Okay, we're going to roll into comments from the community. So standard rules apply. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the I'll call your name, and then please come to the podium. State your first and last name, and there will be a timer displayed. We will be cutting everyone off right at 3 minutes, so please get your words in within that time. First up this evening is Sarah Garriott.
Good evening, Superintendent Barr, members of the board. My name is Sarah Garriott, and I am a parent here in the Peninsula School District. My daughter graduated from Gig Harbor High School, and my son has just finished up his sophomore year as a hybrid student, both at home and at Gig Harbor High School. And he will be going to Bates Tech next year as a junior in the electrical construction program there. He's excited about that. And our youngest son just finished 6th grade, also as a hybrid student at home and in classes at Kopachek Middle School. And I first of all wanted to tell you all thank you, and to the teachers and those who have been influenced to our children. We're grateful, and it's been a wonderful year. Thank you. I am also the chapter chair, as you know, of Moms for Liberty, which has now been smeared as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Seattle Times. Really? Sorry. I didn't think I'd get emotional about that. As a student at Nanjing University in China, a common practice of the CCP was to attack the messenger. If you couldn't beat the message, you must silence your opponent at all costs. And Moms for Liberty seems to be that opponent today. Moms for Liberty Pierce County seeks to peacefully promote excellence in education and defends parental rights at all levels of government, calling anything one disagrees with as hate is a new thought control. Labeling organizations and their members seeks to undermine their effectiveness by hoping others will distance themselves lest they too become labeled. We saw this among the masked and the unmasked as grandma killers, the jabbed and the unjabbed. But I am not afraid to stand alone if I must, and I will peacefully, continually, firmly speak the truth. In today's world, being given a label like the hate group must indicate only that you are on the right side of history and should only encourage one to speak out all the more. I have not been doing this for 3 years to be silenced now by unfounded middle school name-calling. These are our children. I understand that someone from the community asked after the last April meeting when I spoke last if the schools are really teaching that sex ed information to our students. I was told that a director on the school board told them no, we aren't. And for the record, this is the middle school flash curriculum, 2nd edition, that our district uses for 6th and 8th grades, which I just opted my son out of. And everything that was read at the board meeting is unfortunately verbatim from this curriculum text, which we purchased from King County Public Health. I understand that the Comprehensive Sexual Education Law 5395, are we over time? I took too long because I couldn't see.
Feel free to email your comments.
I will. Thank you so much for your time.
Next up, we have Mark Nance.
It's not tall enough. Yeah, I'll bend. Superintendent Barr and Peninsula School Board, thank you for your time tonight. I wanted to talk about the recently passed Bill 5599. Some people are aware of this bill, some people aren't. This is a bill that includes gender-affirming care as a part of it, so it's going to impact all of us. There's 2 things that I want to draw your attention to tonight. The first one is that gender-affirming care would allow the state to hide a child's location from his or her parents. And that would include if his or her parents use the incorrect pronouns when referring to their kids. And that is characterized in the bill as abuse or neglect, using the wrong pronouns. There's no requirement for due process. Child can simply be taken away. If a child merely expresses a belief that his or her parents won't be supportive, that child can be placed in a host home, their location never disclosed to their parents. A state agency will be given authority to make referrals for appropriate behavioral health services, and parents will be removed from the decision-making process for their minor child. Second thing is that this bill, now law, signed by Governor Inslee, allows a minor to have life-altering permanent surgeries without the knowledge and consent of their parents. This includes hormone blockers, which are non-reversible at a certain point. This includes what I would call sexual mutilation in order to supposedly allow a child to transition again without the support or knowledge of their parents. So I want to recognize you as the school board as being a pro Parental Rights School Board. Thank you for voting for that in a recent WASDA meeting. So here are my recommendations to you in terms of what you can do to help maintain parent and teacher trust, which is going to be strained because of this bill. First, do not allow any teacher, staff, counselor, or curriculum to hypersexualize young children. I don't think any of us want that. Second, continue to support parents' roles and rights in the lives of their children by making all curriculum available and the teaching available to the parents. And then the third is do not support the confusion and indoctrination of children to becoming something that they are not. Thank you, school board, for your time.
Next up, we have Tracy Porowski. Did I say that correctly? Close. Okay, correct me. Please let us know when you get to the podium.
It's no problem. Thank you very much. Good evening, Superintendent and Board. I'm Tracy Burkowski, the Executive Director of Key Penn Parks. I wanted to take a few moments this evening to express my appreciation to the Board and the Superintendent for creating an environment where staff and kids can flourish. Last year, a conversation between myself and Megan Showalter, who's a teacher at KPMS, began on how to bring public art, outdoor fun, and kids all together. I met with Megan, rest assured she was acting as a private citizen and not a representative of the school district, and we began to discuss various ideas. And thus was born the Gnome Hunt. Our conversations transitioned into how we could possibly get 200 of these adorable gnomes painted, and she suggested the KPMS art students and initiated a conversation with the art teacher. I'm so grateful that this was allowed. The kids had a great time painting, and we also had a group painted by the youth at the Red Barn Youth Center. As you may know, the hunt launched today. They were hidden last night after the parks were closed, so many of us are quite tired. And I would like to let you know that many of the gnomes are already gone from the parks. I heard that Megan is leaving or perhaps has already left the school district to pursue a year-long artist program in residence, but I'm hopeful that our painting partnership with KPMS can continue. I think that the more opportunities there are for Key Peninsula Parks and the Peninsula School District to partner, the more we can benefit the community and the kids. I have brought this little gnome for you in case you haven't been able to find one. I've only given you one, so you get to figure out how to share it among all of you, just so that there were more in the community. Again, thank you so much for KPMS's participation in this wonderful community event, which is just a lovely intersection of art, fun, and being outdoors. And now if you could kindly let me know whether I should approach the dais or bring it to staff.
Thank you. We're having just a little technical difficulty. Is it just yours? Okay. All right, sounds like it's off. Okay, we're going to roll on to item 6, the consent agenda. Is there any discussion prior to the vote?
Yeah, I was wondering can we please pull the portable contracts and have Patrick give us a quick overview? Is that possible?
Sure. Patrick, do you mind coming up to the podium and just giving an overview of what that
Thank you.
project is, please?
Did you just want kind of an overview of the projects as a whole, or did you have specific questions you'd like me to answer?
Yeah, could you, I know you included all the bid documents, which was very much appreciated, but they're also quite extensive. So could we have an executive summary, if you will?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, and for context, I think it's really important, particularly, again, kind of like last time with the small works, that we continue to help us and our community understand with the smaller works that don't have the line items about what all the costs are that go into them, so that we can just be as transparent as possible, also knowing that this bid process is very different from change orders that we're used to seeing. So that's all.
Yeah, so real quick, I'll start with, we did bid these projects. our cost estimates were, with everything going on in the world, it's hard to kind of dial these in where all the costs should be on these. These came in pretty low. We still feel it's important we bid them. We wanted to bring them to the board, make sure you guys understood what we were doing, and that's what we're here for today. So thank you for calling me up. So they are removing portable. One of the things, like I said, is moving portable at Kopachuk and removing 2 of them at Harbor Heights. And that doesn't just include tearing it down, making it go away. Once it's gone, there's a lot of work that happens before and after that. I'm going to read, and some of these are on both sites and some of them are specific. I'll try to be careful there. Paging systems, fire alarm, electrical systems all have to be removed and pulled back. At Harbor Heights, we're going to have to, the 2 that are being removed, infrastructure goes into those portables and then out to the one closer to Goodman. So we're going to have to remove it and then reconnect back to that portable. We have to remove the gravel underneath the portables, prep the site, sod, sprinklers. Stormwater connections have to be capped off. Fiber connections have to be removed. To be a little bit fair, we're a little bit in front of a couple of these things like the fiber removal, fire alarm at Kopachuk. We deleted that scope out of the base bid of the bigger project, knowing that we were trying to work on this removal of it. At Harbor Heights, it's a little more complicated with the fiber, and that is an expensive endeavor. Fibers, we have to move it back to its. I'm a little lost on the fiber. Chris can bore you to death on that if he wants later. But we got to take it back to where it starts and then rerun it all the way back to the portable that's remaining. Let's see, I think we talked sewer connection at Harbor Heights. There's no sewer connection or septic connection at Kopachuk. Concrete removal. We're removing a dead tree also at Kopachuk because it's unsightly and, well, it's dead. So we could look at something later if we want to do a Earth Day project or something with that. And removal and disposal of the portables, of course. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think people just think that we just tear it down, it removes, or remove it, take it off site. But there's a lot of other things that happen. These bids came in at like I said, much lower than we expected, and we're excited about that because, well, we like to save tax dollars. So, questions?
Yeah, I would just say we've known since one of our very first early walkabouts of Kopachuk that this portable was coming down.
Right.
So I'm glad to see it's finally coming down because you have this beautiful modernized school and you have that old portable just sort of blocking the view. So I'm glad to see that. Can you explain, just 2 questions for me is for the communities, can you explain why we're removing the 2 at Harbor Heights? And was there any hazmat in any of the buildings that factored into this?
So hazmat, I'm going to start with that one. To the best of my knowledge, no, I'd have to go back and look at the report and take a look and make sure on that one. But they were built in 2004, so I don't think there was anything on it, if I recall. But I'd need to vet that before I go way out and say no. But I'm pretty sure nothing we needed to worry about. We do those tests as a standard protocol anytime you do major project or removal. That is something that we are required to do, so that's already been done and vetted. With the removal of the portables, and Cressa might be looking to you to help a little bit on this one, but we did do all these new school projects to reduce overcrowding in the buildings and to get kids out of portables. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that these portables being removed are part of the benefit of the new school, this one in Pioneer, where we have had kids either through redistricting, I believe, just making sure that we did that before, redistricting, or that they moved to Pioneer for the STEM program, at that school. So it created a situation where we have portables that aren't being used. Right now we're using them for storage for furniture that was around for COVID that will need to go away anyhow. And that is one of the pieces of this as well, is it just kind of gets rid of that furniture at the same time. And it is old furniture. We're keeping all new stuff. So this is furniture that's not really useful to the district at this point. So I believe those are the reasons why, is they're just with all the new classrooms built that we don't need those space anymore. And I believe that was part of what the goal of the bond was to get kids in the main building, get rid of portables. And I think this honors that 2019 bond.
Okay.
I'd like to also, may I
Yeah.
add to this? One of the reasons, especially for this school, that we have really looked at is program and accessibility and inclusion, and having students have the ability to access playground. I'm very interested in looking at inclusive playgrounds. We looked at where it makes sense. We would have to go after some grants and really pursue, what that might look like, or community partners. But with that school, because they have a high percentage of their options program, I want to make sure that I say options program and just options and preschools. It just is conducive, and it would be much more inviting, family-friendly in that neighborhood to have that type of playground. Earlier this year, we blacktopped the trail so that the wheelchair access could be, the students could get out on the trail and have access to that. Prior to this, they did not. And so if you've ever been to the playground there, it's awkward and old and very well kept.
Thank you.
But to have, I'm not very politically correct sometimes. It has like a wooden lip on it, and so to have the wheelchair come up and over it, and then it's got wood chips on it, the children can't get there. And so we have struggled a little bit with talking about, okay, and getting them to the swings, which this school district has a million swings.
We need more swings.
We don't need more swings in mud. And so we are very interested in getting rid of those portables, and then looking at the landscape and what we could do for children and increase the inclusiveness.
Right. If we needed them for student spaces, that would be one thing, but they are not. I've talked with all the players to make sure, have them check everything. And then, thank you, I wasn't sure to talk on that, but since you hit on it, I'll kind of dive into a little bit more. It makes more sense to have that playground where you can walk out those back doors where kids come out for recess, go right through an area out to the playground. It's more visible, so there should be a little bit more safety to that as well, so, just because it's more visible. And like Crescent said, I joked about the swings. There are a ton of them, but they were poor placement in an area that's very swampy. And this would allow us to do something that would be better in the future, that is going to, as we talked about before, keep kids' feet dry, which will help them in math, I think, if I said last time. If I recall correctly. Just checking, we can go back and look at the footage later, check which class it'll help them in. But yeah, and I know we have a big vision with that, but it's going to take a little time. And I know with Superintendent Barr's leadership, we're going to get there. We've already had some groundwork conversations with other districts, looking at, gone out and looked at some playgrounds and talked to people. So pretty excited about that process. I know I've talked to a couple of parents over there who are very frustrated, to say the least, and I know they were very happy with the current trail situation. And I think if they saw more happen, they would be even more excited. And it's not just those students, but it's all the students in that school would benefit from this.
And this is one of those cases where the board knows the answer to that question. It's just for the benefit of the community because of what happened with our bike rack. So I appreciate your explanation for the benefit. So thank you for that.
No, and I appreciate you guys letting me get it on kind of last minute as well. I know it's with everything summer coming up, it's a time crunch for me, and I appreciate you guys' help wherever I can get it. Thank you.
Can I just?
Yeah.
So we've seen a few of these things come kind of after the fact. We're getting near the end of this bond. Do we have anything else coming down the pipeline that we should be expecting? That's I noticed out at Evergreen Elementary, the utilities are still kind of hanging by the road, unfinished out there.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That's more not us having it that way. That's more the utilities saying this is how you will do it. They're not going to let us leave things unfinished. But yeah, I know that's one of the ones when I was walking down, kind of looking at the weeds and everything, kind of, it looks weird, but I can double check with the utilities and see if they want something, but they've dictated all of how that went.
And that wouldn't be a cost to us?
In theory, no. Yeah, we still haven't closed that project out. We're working hard on closing it out. But no, I think that's exactly how the utility companies want it. We're moving their poles. We basically have to follow their rules and do what they want. To answer the broader question, at the moment, I can't think of anything that we would bring at this point. There's always we're working on closing out all of the elementary schools. This one here at Swiftwater's closed out. We're working Pioneer's close. Evergreen, we're trying to get there pretty close. And then Artendale's going to be a little bit further behind just because of some of the maintenance pieces and things that were part of that contract, just because the field was done at a different, they had to do the school first, then the field second, sorry. And then the middle schools, I can't think of anything, but I can't tell you that, as we've closed them up, we only touched the buildings. We didn't necessarily touch the site because we didn't know if we were going to have some money. So at the end of this, we might have some conversation around that. I just don't know yet because I haven't talked to Superintendent Barr about it. I haven't really, we have to kind of let everything play out to make sure where we're at with some funds, and then we could take a look at a few things. So right now I don't have anything in the works or anything I'm aware of, but if we do, we'll try to get them to you sooner.
And those were items 6.12 and 6.13 on the consent agenda for anyone who wants to look it up. And thank you for submitting all of the background information on those as well.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Lori and seconded by David. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Consent agenda has been approved. All right, tonight we have a report from our 100% Read at Standard, the Superintendent Advisory Task Force. So I'd like to call that team up to the podium.
So while they're coming up, I just wanted to clarify. So thank you, all of you that are here this evening. Thank you for presenting our findings and our information. 100% reading on grade level task force came from a conversation, multiple conversations with many staff members and community members who were concerned about literacy in Peninsula School District. And so the compilation or the creation of a task force is something that that is a strategy that I have used in the past. And we were very explicit about the membership, who was going to be invited. We do apologize to anybody that wanted to be invited that was not invited. It was a strategy to keep it smaller, to keep people that were very invested, who had knowledge of or had a child with reading difficulties or challenges, and having a mix, and that's what you're going to hear today with the task force, of administrators, parents, experts. We had experts in the state on it. We also, and I say we, but I really tasked Lisa and Natalie to really spearhead this work. They were a little, they questioned me. They were like, okay, are we really going to do this together? And I said, we're going to do this together. We're going to get really smart as a school district. We're going to look at what we have. We're going to look at best practices. And it was all around 100% reading at third grade, that metric, really looking at that metric. And so you are going to hear information from this task force. And we had board members also on this task force. And really, I came to this because I am not a literacy expert. I am a science teacher. I know how to teach science. I know the subject. I could talk to you about genetics. We could talk about PCR machines. I can talk to you about Punnett squares. But when it came to literacy, I really was a learner, and so really leaned into that. This task force has done yeoman's work, but I just wanted to put the bracket on it. It was really intended to look at how do we get students to meet the standard at third grade reading. What you're going to hear is what is coming out of that, but of course there's more. There's more work to be done, but I'm very excited to have this task force tell you about the story and the findings, and it is a strategy. So the task force for this specific purpose will be dissolved because it's kind of a temporary task force, but these people are very dedicated and the work is not done. So I just wanted to set some parameters of the reason why. And I have to say, as a superintendent, it was really exciting for me to not know the answer. I really did not know, and I leaned into that. And I really encourage all of the adults in our system, whether they are teachers or paraprofessionals, that we are not too old to learn. Like, we really have to be critical thinkers, but also learners. So with that, Katya, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Yes.
So Creston took a little bit of our introduction away. Thank you for that. So I'll just add, I'll just add that the task force for the first time met in December of 2022. So this work was accomplished over 6 months, which is pretty incredible. And it was an honor to be a part of that group. And Creston already mentioned those parents, teachers, principals, board members, and outside community experts. So it's pretty incredible work. So let's see, here we go. Creston also already mentioned that we started by looking at the strategic plan, and the strategic plan does list that all third graders would be at grade level or above in third grade in 2026. So that's where that group started. And we asked ourselves when we first met, how can we make that happen? We wanted to keep the strategic plan's values in mind: belonging, inspiring, thriving, and succeeding. And were then tasked with 3 objectives. The first being understanding the current reality, what is happening in our classrooms, what's happening in our schools. We wanted to establish best practices. What does that actually look like, and what does research say about best practices in literacy instruction? And then finally, we needed to set priorities to actually meet that goal by 2026. So now that we know better to do better, what would that look like? And we're going to share a little bit of that with you tonight.
Hi, my name is Marcy Cummings-Coho. I am a teacher, but I'm also a parent of a child who was diagnosed with dyslexia and have been talking about this for at least 7 years. So I'm really excited that I got invited to be part of this task force. But I also want to let you know who else was on there and give you specific names. Kelly Jo Perot, Cecily Lidstrom, Rachel Howard, Chrissy Novak, Emily DeCharm, who's actually here with us today, Jennifer Butler, Cindy Thiel, Jinder Tamberg, Ashley Trin, Jacqueline, how do we say her last name? Bogutinski, sorry. Megan Manning, Katya Rimmel, Abby Barabee, Carolee Pruitt, Lisa Ray, Jamie Croft, Natalie Boyle, and Creston Barr. And I want to really thank Creston for being that scientist and actually thinking about how to pose the problem and try to come up with a solution, because that's very scientific. I also want to really acknowledge Lisa Ray and Natalie for pulling us all together, because everybody on this group was coming from somewhere different with a different experience and brought us together. So part of the first things that we needed to do was talk about the vocabulary and having a common understanding of what the definitions and what the data in PSD was telling us and not telling us, which was very essential for us to move on. This work is going to be necessary for all PSD, not just for the task force. This is going to be important for all community members, board members, parents, teachers, staff, everywhere in the PSD. So the first vocabulary word that we came up with, needing to come to a common understanding, was the science of reading. And the science of reading is not a thing, and it's not a belief. It is a body of research conducted by many researchers across the last 40 years in psychology, neuroscience, linguistic, education, and special education. And within that, be having the 5 components that are essential for reading, which would be phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. The next thing we needed to look at was balanced versus structured literacy, because we've heard all these words thrown out. So what do they mean? Well, the balanced literacy tends to focus more on the activities that facilitate the instruction, like the read aloud, shared reading, guided reading, independent reading. While structured literacy focuses less on the activities and more on the structures of the language, the phonology, the sound syllable correspondence, the syllables, the morphology, the syntax, all those big words. Then we also needed to look at phonemic awareness, because we hear these words, but we needed to understand what they really meant. Phonemic awareness is the ability to recognize and manipulate the spoken parts of the words. So like if I asked you to say cat, and I ask you to change that first sound to a sound, hat, that's an example. Phonics is a method of teaching people to read, correlating the sounds with letters or groups of letters in the alphabetic writing system. Systematic versus explicit. Breaking lessons and activities into sequential, manageable steps that progress from simple to more complex concepts is that systematic part of teaching. The explicit part is the overtly teaching each step through teacher modeling and through many examples. It is explicit in sound spelling relationships that are directly taught, not just assuming. Students are told that the letter S, for example, says S. It must follow a scope and sequence that allows children to form and read words early. The data part, then we dove into. We took explicit data dives. We did 2 sessions of data dives to really understand the data that we had here in Peninsula School District. And what is it telling us? What are we missing? What do we need to do? Then we also had a review of what we're using currently in Peninsula School District. And that was done by Dr. Roxanne Hudson, and we read her report back in January.
All right, I'm Ginger Tannenberg. I'm also a teacher in Peninsula School District, and I also have a student diagnosed with dyslexia. So I was really excited to be on this team. We got to do some site visits, so we divided up and all went to different schools to see what other schools were doing and what they were doing well in terms of literacy and staff learning and curriculum. So we went to Swiftwater Elementary and did some site visits here, Olalla, Cascade View in Snoqualmie, and then Island Park and West Mercer Elementary Schools in Mercer Island. Okay, and then we have some common themes and takeaways from our site visits. So the first one was that the teacher and administrator professional learning was paramount. One common theme we saw was the letters training, which is a foundational learning in the science of reading and how the brain learns to read. That was pretty common among all of our site visits, that the teachers were trained in that, they understood it. The administrators understood it, they knew what needed to be done. So just that foundation and understanding how brains learn to read and how to teach kids. We also saw that most of the schools had systematic and explicit instruction. They had fidelity to the curriculum, and they were consistent from classroom to classroom. So everybody was doing the same thing. All of the schools were on the same page, even across the district. When we saw the 2 schools at Mercer Island, they both did the exact same things. All the teachers were taught the same way. They collaborated and worked together. And then we also saw that there was instruction that includes multi-sensory opportunities for students, building schedules, prioritize literacy instructional blocks, and common planning for teachers. And then there was a multi-tiered systems of support that helped prioritize instructional leadership. One of the really cool things one of the teachers at the Mercer Island said was that they prioritized the teachers in the kindergarten and first grade positions because they felt like they needed to be the neurosurgeons of reading. They needed to find out what was wrong, what was not working when a kid had struggled to read, and fix it and just pinpoint what it was and fix it. So those kind of needed to be the top staff, the top teachers were in those positions. We know that intervention is not as effective the older that students get, so that first and kindergarten and first and second grade teachers are really essential in when a kid learns to read.
Hi there, my name is Cindy Teal, and I am a teacher here in this district, and I also have a son in our district that is diagnosed with dyslexia. And I will tell you, it's a blessing to struggle in reading because they get to dig in and work hard. So I have to be honest with my colleagues here that this is probably my favorite slide that you get to view tonight. I really feel like it is just the most exciting part of our task force, our next action step that we get to take as a district. This is exciting. And I want to share with you that 3 years ago, Washington State passed a dyslexia law. It's Senate Bill 6162. And part of that law stated that staff teachers certificated would receive ongoing professional development regarding the science of reading and structure literacy. And I'm here to tell you that our district is trying to fulfill that law and that we are making progress with that, with the professional development that has already been done regarding the science of reading and structure literacy and our next action step. Starting in September, we are implementing Literacy Champions. So notice the big logo on top. This is the champion. We are very excited about this. And this Literacy Champion is coming, is supported through the LETTERS training that Ginger just spoke about. It is a powerful professional development. LETTERS actually stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And it's a course of study for instructors of reading, spelling, and related language skills. And I want you to know that it's not a literacy curriculum. Instead, it answers the important questions of how to teach the skills required for proficient reading and writing. It is the science of reading. The course methodically addresses the systems of language underlying literacy, including phonology, orthography, semantics, syntax, discourse, and pragmatics. It provides knowledge and tools that teachers can use with any good structured literacy reading program, as it contains an in-depth knowledge based on the most current research regarding what, when, and how language skills need to be taught. It provides ways to assess student language development for prevention and intervention and gives knowledge on how to differentiate instruction and balance word recognition and comprehension instruction. If you'll notice on the slide, we have two cohorts that are going to be implemented. Cohort number 1 is this next school year. And we have 80 K-5 teachers that have signed up to be able to take this LETTERS professional development. And it's also required for all LAP and title teachers. Cohort 2 is going to occur in 2024 and 2025, and all of our K-2 teachers and resource teachers will be required to be able to be trained through this professional development. LETTERS administrative training for principals and district office administration will occur as well. And we also have a great plan to be able to sustain this LETTERS training in teaching the science of reading and structured literacy. We have 4 facilitators that are going to be trained by the LETTERS program and be able to sustain and support new teachers that come in and teachers that will need more help as they are working to understand the science of reading and structured literacy. So I invite you, board, to be with us as literacy champions, and we are just very excited about this implementation of LETTERS training.
Well, that was an exciting slide, but so is this next one, and I'm excited to close that out for us. But I did want to say one thing about the 80 people. That's not normal that we get so many teachers so quickly, and we had those slots filled in no time. So teachers really are hungry. They want to learn. They want to engage in this work, and we're all excited. So the graphic that you see here is the result of the task force. In fact, we just created the graphic at our very last session. Kristen mentioned that the task force is done, but our real work and journey is really just now beginning, and we're excited about that. So collaboratively, that group, the task force, built this document based on the vision and mission, and values that you see on the screen. And for those of you who can't see that from where you're sitting, I'll tell you that the vision was aligned to the strategic plan. All Peninsula School District students will read at or above grade level and receive literacy support from pre-K through graduation, grounded in the science of reading. So you'll see that this document is not just focused on third grade, but really broad, encompasses all of our students. We believe that we can accomplish that by utilizing best practices to support literacy in all subject areas and, again, in all grade levels to create lifelong literacy learners. We included values that the task force felt were important for this work, and they include a transparent culture of teaching and learning, a commitment to professional learning, aligned multi-tiered systems of support, also known as MTSS, and data-driven decision-making that's focused on individual student growth. And then we really wanted to dig a little bit deeper and look at what does that mean in terms of classroom instruction, what does that mean in terms of values and pedagogy, what does it mean for school cultures and leadership at school and district level, and what kind of support would we need from district level administrators to make this happen. We know that the circular graphic that you see has lots of words, but really what it shows is that we are committed to a cycle that continues. There is no end. We are evaluating, we are analyzing, we are committed to doing that work and continuing to stay in that cycle. The very outside of the cycle shows you the stakeholders that are involved in that work. And that includes district administrators, principals, teachers, paraprofessionals, students, and families. We really believe that this is a community effort and not just the responsibility of teachers or paraeducators in school buildings, but we're all in that together. Let's see. So we're just at the beginning of our journey, and we know that if we don't get to 100% of third graders reading, we did not meet our goal, or we will not have met our goal. So this group, along with the remainder of our group, is really committed to continuing that work. The guiding principles will be used for decision making, for conversations, both at district level, building level, with community members. We're really excited to share this information with parents, with prospective new families. We're really proud of the work that we've done and that we will be doing this coming year, and we think that the graphic is really useful in communicating what we stand for as a group and hopefully as an entire district. Thanks. Yeah.
I know you do. Well, first, thank you. Okay, I mean, that's a ton of people that are on this. Thank you to all the parents and staff, Jennifer, Kristen, for being on this. I know that some of the board members over the past couple of years have met out in the community with some very passionate parents around reading. And I know that Lisa and I attended a meet. I delayed my trip to the WASDA conference last year so that I could attend a very passionate parent meeting here in Swiftwater. So it's, I'm glad you referenced the strategic plan, because that's, one of our visions is to be the best school district in the state, and to not have our academic standards of reading, science, and math be 100% is setting the bar too low. So I appreciate that comment, because reading is the foundation of a successful academic achievement. So that means a lot to me. And the fact that the first thing when I heard the task force was disbanding is, how are we going to lose the enthusiasm? So you have reinforced the fact that that's not going to happen. I mean, this was an excellent presentation. And the fact that there's so many teachers that are parents of dyslexia students, I know that they're not going to fall to the wayside. Because some of the parents that I've spoken to were in this school district 40 years ago, and they're dyslexic, and now their kids are dyslexic. And to have one of the parents from that group on the task force is really important. So I appreciate that. Would it be possible for you to send the board a copy of the slide deck? Because I would love to be able to follow along, but there's a good sun glare, and I couldn't see the screen. So, and this is for Chris, because I cannot wait, now that this is done, and this is beginning going forward, to see that chart next year on our, to follow these cohorts, to see the academic improvement as our kids learn to read. So, thank you. That's it for me.
Just a few comments. I feel very privileged that I got to be a part of this, because it was truly a tremendous process and a lot of hard conversations, very deeply personal, and it was the kind of thing that once we all came kind of with our different lenses and our respective experiences. I've never been a part of a group that came from such different positions to a culmination where we were all really in line, in sync, and so excited about where we're going next. And it was really a tremendous process. And I have to say, I've never seen really what parent voice meant until this group met, and the way that the parent voice was brought into the conversation on level playing field with the administrative voice and with teacher voice was really incredible. And you know, I found myself kind of putting on all these different hats, and at the end I'm like, it doesn't matter what hat you have, because the end result is what is the right thing for our children and what is the path forward. And I think that's where we all wound up, which was really, really tremendous. And just kind of, I think it's important to understand the context of like, why now? Why are we just now kind of having this awakening? And I really do think, if you've been watching the national movement in this, right? This is not unique to Peninsula. This is a national conversation that's happening, and this really is, I've seen a few places, this characterized as the one silver lining of COVID was that when children were sent home and they had to relearn, especially our younger children, like my kindergartner who got sent home, I was now sitting next to her watching her try to learn to read. And for the first time, I was seeing she's not learning to read the way I learned to read. But I didn't think a whole lot of it other than, you know, I guess that things are different now. Well, a lot of folks with children that were having challenges learning to read were starting to now raise the flag, and they didn't know that their children were being taught to read differently than they had learned in the 70s and 80s and how we learned. And really it was that momentum, right? I think parents of dyslexic children had known for a while, but then COVID kind of blew the door open, and now all parents were starting to see what's going on. Like, what are we doing? Why are we asking kids to guess? Why are we not learning to sound out words anymore, you know? So I really think that, you know, if we can have a silver lining of COVID, you're looking at it right here, and this is where we are going to be going in this direction, and I'm so confident that we'll be able to continue this momentum, because it's not the end. I mean, it really is now the beginning of all the different places, right? So we've got curriculum to look at, we've got interventions for our older kids that we can now start exploring. We can look at all of these different things, and you know, I know these conversations now can happen that we have the framework. So just thank you guys. It was such an honor, and it was such a privilege. And you know, please listen to that podcast. There's so many out there, but that Soul to Story podcast, it will completely change your thinking and your understanding and give you such an appreciation for the work of this group. So, yeah. Thanks.
That's very good. Thank you for sharing that.
I know that we get the SIP plans every year from the schools, but is there a way for the board to get some kind of a follow-up from this group going forward? Just have someone, spokesperson, maybe Lisa, come to say, how is this group?
So, Lisa, I was going to ask you to maybe build on Jennifer's comment and maybe talk a little bit about our conversation with higher ed.
Sure.
That higher ed is also struggling to catch up. And I also wanted to invite Emily up to the group because you are part of the group.
Yes.
And you came out today and such an integral part. So,
which also speaks just to the genuine commitment that our families that participated in this had. They showed up, our teachers showed up, our administrators showed up, so.
And I think I would speak for all of you that this is a group that started off awkward and a little uncomfortable. It was. And at the end, I know you guys are sad that we're dismantling it, right?
We're still going.
I know. I'm getting your emails. Yeah. So go ahead, Lisa.
So a couple of things you mentioned about some sort of report or ongoing data. I think that's actually really valuable as we think about initially 80 people joining in this training and seeing what kind of impact that is having on those classrooms data. Once they have a little bit of that learning under their belt, we'll do some comparison and some growth and some of those things, because that'll help us kind of talk about why this is such important work. And so I think that's a really key piece too. We have other markers that are just as important to us as the practitioners about what happens in classrooms and, our walkthroughs and those kinds of things. So we can share some of that data as we go through all of these processes. And then I want to acknowledge what you said, Jennifer, about the other components to this that have really come out in that. I think I'll speak for Natalie, but both Natalie and I can say that we are different leaders today based on this work. I think we both come at everything from a different learning perspective and very much a listening and how are we responding when things aren't working. And so all of that going forward is going to help us shape the work. But I want to highlight a couple of things because we know we have students in our system now that are not in third grade, that are not in K3. And while we're putting a ton of effort into getting it right and making sure that we don't have struggling readers, we do. And so we're working on some systems to make sure that we have maybe some pilots, some trying on some middle school interventions that we can test out, and we'll be launching those in the fall. I just grabbed Ginger and said, are you ready to join me in this adventure too? And she said yes. So, we have really committed people. We want to try and highlight a couple of middle school teachers who can participate in that training too, just to start building that cadre of folks who understand what that means for a 6th grader who's not reading at grade level or an 8th grader. Things look a little different in high school, and we need to work with staff about what kinds of accommodations and supports can be put in place. There are tons of amazing things happening with AI and the tools that we have in our computers and our tech that can provide student support. So we want to work through that too. That's all aside. And one of the partners that we've had in our group all year is her name is Allison Drago, and she's the director at PLU for the principal program. And she and I have been, we've been talking, and Natalie have been talking a lot about what we can do together. And there is a need to rethink what happens in teacher prep schools. She's been talking about that too, about how do we really think about what are the tools that teachers need going forward. And she is super excited about partnering with us on that, as well as really leading into middle school interventions and what kinds of things are out there. In fact, she sent me an invitation to a meeting on Wednesday to really start talking about the structures and systems that need to happen in middle school so that we can catch those kids up too. So there's a lot of really amazing things happening, just really because we were listeners and learners and said, we've got to do different. It hasn't worked, so how are we going to fix it? And those are to be determined still.
How many school districts in the state out of the 295 do you know of have done this? Are we a leader in the state in this effort?
We do know a lot of districts that are doing letters. There are a lot of districts that have leaned into letters. I don't have a number for that. We can find out. You can ask Lori this weekend at WASA. But I haven't seen anything that's been like this kind of effort initially. I know the districts that we've talked to had 3 or 4 schools that started it. We have up to 8 teachers in every single building signed up next year, which is incredible. Okay. Great. Yeah, we have to do some data. We have to get some, we want to see some growth and some gains and some really impactful work. I will say the teachers, there was a cadre of teachers that did this training last year at Discovery, and they have nothing but amazing things to say and a big support for getting the other folks in our system to want to do this too. So.
I will build on to this. I have contacted OSPI and I have asked to be on the leading edge, or I said, I want to be the superintendent that is talking about early literacy and any legislation and any collective efforts that we have in the state. And so I know that they have a small group out of OSPI. I feel like we're a little bit ahead. However, I know that they're putting out some information about the science of reading, so the language is changing. But I know that people know that we are struggling to figure it out. We are going to figure this out. We are going to, as a school district, we're going to figure it out. We're going to have tools for students. We have the right people. We know that there's more. We know that there's more parents out there. We know that there's more teachers. We knew because we just wanted to make it small and very diverse. It was a very diverse group of people that we brought together. And now we're rowing in the right direction, in the same direction. And we don't have all the answers. And I don't know a school district that has all the answers yet. I don't know school districts that are really talking about the whole picture, like really the early, but so just we are reaching out with all of our networks to try and figure that out. So we're going to figure it out. And then David will do it when he asks me.
Yeah, one other quick comment. One of the things that was really, speaking of the diverse task force, there was one of the members had just finished her teaching certification, and so she's a long-term sub here. And it was fascinating to sit with her as moving into teacher, just finished her student teaching, had never been exposed to the science of reading. She had been brought through her program in learning about a balanced literacy approach. And so it's, this, it's wide and it's in every direction, the movement to the science of reading, and that canon of knowledge needs, it's not just a Peninsula School District issue. It is across the country. It's from the teacher colleges all the way down, and our parents are such an important part of this, because without a doubt, the professionals who know.
I'm like, I got dragged up here, so I'm going to talk. I just want to add, I'm not that I'm just a parent, but I was, I don't work in the district. I have an incoming 9th grader who reads miles beyond her where she should be, and I have an incoming 6th grader who's not miles, but below where he should be. I came into this group and I was like, what am I doing here? I don't know what but what I learned quickly was that early on, if my little guy had teachers who had this kind of professional development, it would have been game changing. So I'm excited for people who are coming in behind us, that these people will have this opportunity. I think this is a huge step forward. Like, just as a parent, I'm like, this is impressive. This is a feather in the cap. It's really cool. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, to your point, Emily, we're really not so much different. We aren't educators either. Like, I don't know how to teach someone how to read, but I do know that just ties into what's going through my head. A couple of things. Just thank you all so much for doing this work, and you as well. It's really exciting. This is one of the best things I've seen since I've been on the board, as far as seeing something that was brought to the board as a concern or an area where things maybe could be done differently. And seeing a group put together that represents all the stakeholders. And then tonight, just the enthusiasm that I see on all of you as you're talking about the work that you did and the work that you're excited to still do. And it just makes me really excited, because I know when we worked on the strategic plan, we really meant every child. And so when I think about 3rd grade reading or any kind of reading, I'm like, every child. So when we hear that isn't maybe been the journey for every child, in my head, and again, I'm not trained in teaching anyone to read, but it does make you go, why is this not? How could it be? How could it be different? And so I'm really just so grateful, but so excited really for the whole, for the PSD. This is just an example of what can be done when you allow yourselves, and I think you have to, we all have to be willing to assess, what are we maybe not doing as well as we could, and what are we doing well, and how can we, get where we need to be. So thank you, every one of you, and all those that, are obviously more that aren't represented. But I'm excited to see what you guys can accomplish, because I know it's going to be great. So thanks.
I do want to say one more thing, that this work truly is not done. We have to continue this, and we've talked about that. It's not a one and done training. It's not a 2-in-1 training. It is going to be, if Creston leaves us 10 years from now, the work is still going to continue, because we've got to make sure. Yeah, then she'll be back. Yeah. But it shouldn't depend on who's on the school board. It shouldn't depend who the superintendent. It has to be our core value as Peninsula School District.
Where do you guys go?
I will just add one more piece to that, and positive note and a tough note. I want to acknowledge the parents that brought this to us, and I want to acknowledge the many years of challenge, because that was real, and I have appreciated the honest conversations, and we've sat and had some really hard conversations, and I thank you all for sharing what I'm sure was professional and personal stories that brought you to this group, because I think you can really understand the heart of those parents. And thank you also for recognizing that it can't just be K-3 starting September 5th. I know that we have kids who are going to be seniors in high school, and every child every day means every child every day. So it's not going to look the same, like you said, but technology is out there. So thank you for thinking about it. And I know the group is dismantling, but I know the wheels are always spinning. Yeah, I know that we're going to get there for those kids. And it's been really fun to watch this grow, and then to really catch hold of it and see what's happening around the nation and the legislation that's being passed. And we have legislators who are very supportive of putting Peninsula School District on the map for leading this effort. And that's really due to the work that you have done, that we feel confident that we're going to be leaders in this. So definitely more to come, but I think this is a great way to wrap up this year, and thank you for taking this metric and the strategic plan and applying it to every child every day and giving us something to really be proud of. So well done, all of you.
Well done. And thank you all for coming, because it really is summer.
It is, and it's still sunny, so go enjoy. Okay, item 7.2, we have our monthly budget update with Ashley.
Okay, so this doesn't seem to be as exciting of a presentation as the one we just listened to. No problem. We'll just talk about money and debt. Okay, but you guys got your first sort of glance at this last month. I don't want to bore you guys with a long drawn-out version, but what I do want to do is just walk you through some of the pages, have you guys look at some of the more interesting items, and I'm sure you guys went through this while you guys were looking at the rest of everything else in the board packet. So again, we start with revenues and our semicircles. One of the things that we're really tracking on this page through those semicircles is the variance between where we projected to be at this time and where we are currently. So for like right now, what I'm focusing on is, if you look at that green or neon green semicircle, do you see that variance in federal revenues? That's what I'm trying to clean up right now. Okay, so that means that we haven't done enough of our federal grant claims in order to get us closer to where we should be as of right now. It is, in all reality, super common. One of the things that we normally see in a district is you have a lot of your federal expenditures during the summer with summer school, extended school year, those type of programs. And then in addition to that, it's also a time period where people have looked at their spending plans over the course of the year, realized that they had planned to do ABC, it didn't come to fruition, so they have additional federal dollars on the table. So at this point, we start looking at, okay, what did we do that we can utilize these federal funds on? And then it's our job within the business office to make the magic happen and do the reimbursement claim and get the dollars into the correct fund. So that's what we're working through right now. On the expenditure side, you can drop down to the next page. Next time I'll put this in PowerPoint so I don't have to have Tanya scroll through it all. I didn't realize that's the metrics that we needed. So this one, I'm always eyeing our year-end budget, year-end estimated budget. One of the difficult things this year is if you go back to nearly a year ago, 10 months ago, when our budget was adopted knowing that we were going to end up going over our budget. We had to take out all capacity, we needed to balance things, and then ultimately we knew this year we needed to be really frugal with our spending because we did not have enough revenues to really truly balance all of our expenditures. So as of right now, we are technically what is considered over budget. And so in July, that's when you would be seeing that budget extension come through in order to give us that additional capacity to technically finish out the school year. Because even though school's out, our fiscal year goes through August 31st. And so we have summer school, we have payroll contracts that go through August. All of that I need to give us an extension to give us enough capacity to be able to spend against it. So in July, you'll be seeing that budget extension. So right now then, basically all of the work that we're doing then technically becomes unbudgeted until we get that budget extension in and approved. But ultimately, it's things like summer school. We know we want to be able to provide summer school. Summer school does come with a price tag. It's not just fully funded by the state. We have some federal grants that we use to offset it, as well as state funding, but it's expensive. And so, we look at that. School supply purchases from the beginning of the year to now, it technically wasn't budgeted for. We have revenues there to pay for it, but I have to give us the expenditure capacity to spend against it. So we've been tracking that and looking at that. Ultimately, though, when you look at our total expenditures, our year-to-date expenditures, you're now going to start seeing that we're going to be over. So ultimately, we would expect to be at about 73.97%. We're now at 74.05%. So we've over-expended by about 116,000, and you're going to see that in future slides down below in this sheet. And so we're going to continue to add to that overage over the course of these next few months. Okay, so the third one is my favorite graph, and it shows the blue line, shows how we're tracking. We should always see the same type of formation of the line, but it depends upon where you peak and how far you go. But we should always see that in October and April, you should be peaking at the highest. The caveat and difference here is the fact that 2 years ago we received COVID dollars and it bolstered funds during that time frame, right? So it threw off our trends. But ultimately, when you're starting to see our blue line start going down, where we are right now is the lowest where we have been in our prior years that are being shown. We expect to continue to decrease through the month of June. And then you'll start seeing it go back up a bit through July and August, because in July and August, we receive about 23.5% of our total state funding, obviously after the school year's ended. Makes it really useful. But that's where we build our fund balance back up, because we're dipping into fund balance right now. Ultimately, we're trying to get to this green triangle. If we can land the year at the green triangle, which is about an 8.8, just under $8.9 million fund balance, we've at least stayed on our target. Now, it's very likely, based upon where we were going, that we won't necessarily land at 8.9 million. And we're going to be drawing down further in our fund balance. And then we'll be rectifying that in the budget I'm creating right now going into next year. Hence the reason we went through our staffing cuts in the spring, okay, in order to sort of right-size that. The next page that you're looking at, well, technically the next 2 pages, it's 2 different formats of looking at where we're spending our dollars, what percentage we have spent to date, and comparing it to prior year. So last month when I was here, we had a $5 million surplus of revenues over expenditures. Now we're down to 663,000, but I said last month that we were going to be pulling down from our fund balance by multiple millions of dollars because we receive our lowest percentage of state dollars during the month of May because it follows a levy collection month. So we've now pulled down from there, and now we're going to dip into fund balance to fund the month of June. So if we can go to, let's just go to the, let's do the very last page. So this is where we start tracking a lot of our individual basic education buckets, and we start looking for those red variances to determine, well, we're budgeting right now, where are we needing to recalculate going into next year to provide additional dollars so that we're not basically in the red in these specific areas. A lot of these pertain to MSOCs, or material supplies and operating costs. And so I work with all of our directors of all of our departments on their individual budgets, and we look at, for budgeting for next year, are these expenses that we expect to continue seeing? Are these areas where we're expecting to trim back? Or do we truly need to give additional budget capacity in these areas in the coming year? So I know that's sort of short and sweet, but do you guys have any questions? I know that was pretty hefty.
I only have one.
Okay.
And that's, unless I'm missing it, I don't see a line item for what percentage of our fund balance we have, because I know the board has a percentage we want you to stay within, but I don't see that line item. Is it missing? And if so, is it something you can put that in for the next time?
Yeah, so are you talking about the 2 to 4% goal?
Yeah.
It's not in this template specifically, but I can drop something in there for next time and basically throw a line on the wedge.
Yeah, so the 8 million you're hoping to get to, that's within our parameter.
Correct.
2 to 4, it's not below. I know we were nervous that we were getting close to the bottom of that, so, okay.
Yep, because ultimately, what we need is $13 million in order to go through the dips of the months after a levy collection, because we're drawing down from fund balance in order to pay the bills that month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, that's it for our reports this evening. Item 8, old business. Second reading of policy adoption for policy 5161, civility in the workplace. Is there any discussion prior to the vote? Is there a motion to approve item 8.1, policy 5161, civility in the workplace? Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Lori and seconded by Jennifer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried. Item 8.1 has been approved. Okay, moving on to new business. We have several policy revisions and updates. Chris Hagel, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium and.
Oh, he's ready.
He's ready, okay.
He's excited.
Good, this will give me a second to close out the budget and look at the, oh, I've lost the numbers. Okay, so we have, I'll just introduce them and then
you bet.
we can talk about them. So we have a policy revision, policy number 2022, electronic resources and internet safety. This is a first reading, so there's no action on any of these. Item 9.2 is a first reading of policy revision 2023, digital citizenship and media literacy. Item 9.3, a first reading for policy adoption of policy 3245, students and telecommunication devices. 9.4 is a first reading for a revision of policy 4000, public information program. And then finally, 9.5 is a first reading for policy revision of policy 6608, security cameras on school district grounds, property, or buses.
Sure. Would you like me to talk to them in a whole, or?
Yeah, I think so. Just an overview and then if there's questions.
4 of the 5 are really just to bring policies up to date. For instance, our policy 6608 was strictly around cameras on buses. we had no policies governing the security cameras that are in all of our schools right now, especially in our new construction schools. So trying to bring that one up to date. The public information program is just a small addition to that one to match the WASDA model policy, mostly around the annual report that we intend to start next year. So an annual report to our community about what's going on in our schools. And so we wanted to bring that one up to date. 2022 is also just a minor change to match WASDA model policy. 2023 is kind of a bigger change. Digital citizenship and media literacy, that policy was really old. It had to do with showing films in classrooms. And so this is bringing that policy up to date with, you know, the times that we're in right now, and some of the things that we've been doing through grants that we've got through OSPI around digital citizenship and media literacy. This will all kind of tie in together with some of the work that our teachers have done over the school year. So that's what that one is. 3245 is a new policy. This is kind of a change from what we've been doing in the school district before. For years, we have allowed students to bring cell phones to class and then left it to a classroom teacher whether or not they should have the cell phone in the classroom. Through time, we learn more, we change where we're at on that. We've heard from a lot of teachers, we've heard from a lot of administrators that they need more, they need something else to help them deal with the cell phones in the classroom. And so this is the WASDA model policy as well, but it is a flip for our district, where by default we are not allowing cell phones in the classroom any longer unless a teacher explicitly allows them for a special project. So that's what 3245 is. It is different for us. It's new. It's kind of what we've heard, a request from parents, we've heard a request from teachers, and we've heard a request from administrators on that one. So that one's kind of the biggest change for, and the board. And so that one is the biggest change for anything we've done so far. The rest of them are kind of just updates to catch up to WASDA model policies. So, questions?
So when your comment about no cell phones in class is sort of a little bit vague. The kids can have a cell phone like in their backpack, they can be on. Mm-hmm. They just can't have them out using them. Okay, and then
that is the intention.
I know
yes.
It touches on the social media policies also, as far as on the Chromebooks and devices like that. Certain social media platforms will be blocked off those devices, correct?
That is correct. They were actually blocked today. Okay. So going into next year, we waited to not make that change to disrupt what was going on in the school year, but it was another decision that we made that moving forward, students are not going to be allowed on any district-owned devices or on our public open networks to be able to access social media. And so,
right. Can you also, again, for the benefit of the community, because I've already asked you
sure.
this question.
Yeah.
Can you please explain why we can't block certain websites or things from their phones internally, like
so
radar jamming?
Yeah. So there's a couple of pieces there. So you're not federally allowed to block cell phone traffic you can't block it anywhere. Like, it's illegal. But what we can do is we can not allow it on any of our Wi-Fi networks for students. We are going to leave it on for staff if they need it, they want it, whatever. But we differentiate there, and then our open network will no longer have it as well. And so we can't control what happens on their personal data plan. So if mom and dad pay for a personal data plan on their cell phone, we have no control over that. We have some really tough buildings to get cell phone service in, so that helps a little bit. But other than that, yeah, there's nothing we can do on the kids' personal cell phones. But social media and the kids' cell phone use in the classroom has become extremely disruptive following COVID. And so it's the next step that we have to take. We're unfortunately, our teachers are working hard to work with kids to teach, because that's what we really wanted initially, was allowing students the opportunity to learn from mistakes with caring adults around them, the teachers in the classroom. It's too much for teachers. And so we need to help them, and we're going to do that by, some of these changes to policy.
Yeah, I've been reading about a very positive trend with young folks, that they're getting away from these and going to the little flip phones with nothing but
Sure.
phone and text, that they want to detach from social media. They're seeing the danger.
Good. Yeah.
So that's a very positive trend.
Yeah, it kind of gets into the point where we don't want to, make decisions for families, but I think we're starting to see trends throughout society now that saying, you know, it's maybe not a great idea to give cell phones to little kids, you know, because of the things that they're doing. And so I think, you know, a few years ago I would have said, you know, maybe not before middle school. Now there's a lot of people that are saying kids should maybe not have cell phones even at all before high school. So, but we're going to stay out of that one. We're just going to not allow them in the classroom. If parents decide they want to give them the cell phone, that's their right to do so. But you bet.
So are these basically line for line from model policy, or is there any other kind of modification for Peninsula School District? I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by my echo.
Yeah, it's bad tonight for all of you. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. All of these are model policy to the best of my remembrance. Yeah, I think they are. So we have some procedures that accompany these that differ a little bit on the security cameras, but the rest I think we just adopted model procedure as well from WASDA. So.
Okay. Yeah, I asked because I know you, in the beginning of the year when you gave the sort of technical safeguards presentation at the Harbor Ridge that was really quite good, you referred to Common Sense Media as kind of a reference for parents to be able to kind of use. And so I'm wondering, just a little bit looking at some of the antiquated language.
I know the cell phone one does talk about beepers and pagers. Yeah.
Well, just wondering if maybe like in reviewing some of this, like pulling, because we
could take it out but we just wanted to just kind of take adopting laws. It felt easier across the board.
Confidence that this is actually current.
Yeah.
That we're not referring to.
Sure.
Yeah, beepers and things
yes.
I mean, not that you.
They could.
Right. So I'm not saying take it out, but I mean, just something that is another like an independent verification that, you know, best practices around a lot of this stuff is actually incorporated into this, given that it has some language that makes you a little suspicious.
Yep. We can do that. Yeah.
I would just add a request. I think I know we just finished school yesterday, but as we think about starting school again, this is pretty new. So I encourage parents to read through this because it will be universally applied throughout all the schools, and it's going to hit some people as a surprise. So as we maybe put it into the code of conduct, or things like this and dress code, the expectations are new. So I think we need to be really upfront in our messaging that this is a big change for our students.
We're definitely going to change the rights and responsibilities handbook that parents sign off on every year. We're just waiting for these to be adopted first, and then we will do that and make those changes.
Oh,
but
goodness.
I think we're good. I think we're good time-wise for that to happen, because I think we need to finish that by the end of July. So
we don't have another meeting until July 27th.
That should
Do you
be
need
fine.
a special meeting to push
that'll be
fast
fine.
track?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Okay, so like I said, there was no action on any of those. Item 9.6 is board committee reports. Does anyone have a report out from committee? No, we did Chuck's art last time.
Yep. I missed the last meeting. I was sick.
Okay. Nope, no committee reports? Okay. Moving to item 10, superintendent report.
I just want to say thank you for a great year. It's been a long year, feels a little long. We passed both Proposition 1 and Proposition 2 back in February, which seems like forever ago. But just all of the end of the year events have been so fun and so much joy seen from transitional kindergarten graduation to our graduation last weekend, where we graduated Henderson Bay in the rain, pouring down rain. And it was not supposed to rain at all. And so those of us that came in a dress and no umbrella enjoyed that rain, but we're Northwesterners, and the students didn't care. So that was amazing. And then we had Peninsula and Gig Harbor at the Tacoma Dome. So it has been a joy, an honor, and a privilege. I hope that everyone has a wonderful summer And we are already planning for the school year 23-24 already, but we all need to just take a sigh, take a breath, and enjoy family, and just really celebrate all of the milestones that students have achieved. So with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, board discussion and comments. Who would like to start? David?
I'll go. Let's not jump. So just, yeah, the graduations are always a lot of fun. Henderson Bay, I've seen a lot of videos online or on TV shows or news or whatever of a military member sneaking up in a costume or something like that. So it's really cool to see one of the Henderson Bay graduates, Army brothers, sneak in and give her a hug, surprise her. That was classic. So it was nice for that. I know we had a lot of great conversation tonight around the 100% reading, but it was to hear about the little gnomes and the partnerships and the arts with our community. We have a very supportive board around the arts. I've been, so pleased over the years I've been on the board to see that this community supports the arts, that our school district and board supports the arts, and that we see the importance of the arts on healthy academics for our kids. I'd like to see the energy maybe that we had for the 100% reading and all the effort to 100% reading in alignment with the strategic plan. I'd love to see some people get behind the task force for math and science to do that, so that we could just be a statewide leader in all three key categories for OSPI. But I do look forward. This is, the board has presented at WASA conference before on our TK program and some other really cool things we've done. Not this year. I know they've already got the agenda set, but I should have known that. But next year would be really cool to show the success we're doing that and bring some of that group in. And, it's just always great to highlight the great things that the school district and community and school board are doing. So that's it for me. Thank you.
I'm afraid to use this. It's been a problem. It's like, no, I don't have much to add. Just it's been a fun end of the year as always, and just seeing events everywhere. I came out of events that I intentionally went to that were awesome, and then I just came out of a meeting at the ESC the other day, and just Purdy was full of kids, cheering and running around. It was field day, and so it's been great fun. I also I'm lucky to live on a street that has school buses pass in front of my house. So whenever I'm out in the front, that's always fun, because it's like, yay, especially when it's the last day, So just really good job all. It was a pleasure sharing the year with you all, and to all of you too. Just thanks for doing what you do, and congrats on a great year.
Yeah, well, it did feel like a long year, didn't it? As a parent, as a board member, but I think I keep kind of, reflecting back. It was in a big way. It really was a rebuilding year, right? I mean, this is your first real year in the driver's seat as our superintendent. We've had a lot of changes in on every level of our staff and our teachers, and so settling into our roles and then figuring out how to take those roles and go forward. And in many cases, having to go backwards before we go forwards. And it's been hard. It's a lot easier to just do what you've always done. But I just wanted to say thank you to you, Preston, and to the staff for being willing to go backwards sometimes in order to go forward in a new direction. It's really been tremendous to be privy, to be kind of behind the scenes, as they say, seeing how the sausage gets made, if you will. Because it's not easy work. But when your end product is young people and education, it's worth it. So thank you all. Have a good summer.
Wow. What a finale we've had here. Graduation is always something that tugs at your heart. Henderson Bay, just the smaller graduation, a smaller group, and getting rained on. It was emotional. Yeah. I really liked hearing about all the jobs that those kids were going to. They were already signed up for apprenticeship programs. That's great. It always leaves me wondering about any kids that we didn't get through the system. And I'd sure like to hear about if there's some that are lagging behind what we're doing and what we can do to pick those kids up and get them across that finish line. Just knowing some in the past that didn't make it, that walked away, that were so close in some cases. It'd be nice to know what we're doing to help those kids. I did have a committee thing, KP Kids this morning. So the group met in Key Center. Great discussion. The question came up about the Hugh and Janice McMillan Community Center and where we were going with that. I don't know fully where we're going. I know there's a little bit of work going on there, and maybe Patrick would have more answers to some of that, but in the future, maybe we can get an update on that and start plugging ahead.
Yeah,
especially
Chuck, we
after-
will, what I hear you saying is that you'd like a report out for the use.
Yeah.
And I know that we have things in the future
Right.
planned. I know that we have had some conversations with the park.
Yeah.
The park district over there, and so we will put that on the calendar for the beginning as well as graduation. So the metrics, you will get a report in September on all the
Okay.
metrics.
Okay, good. Yeah, otherwise it's a celebration time. Thank you all for everything you've done. You all do so much more than I do. I'm working a full-time job still. It's just a great place to be.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet. We'll be out of here by 8 o'clock for most of you. I want to wish you all a very wonderful summer. Thank you for the hard work you've put in. I want to echo what Jennifer said to our superintendent. Really, your first year was learning. Second year was launching, and I think I speak on behalf of the board that we're so grateful for the work you've done, for bringing things like task forces, for being a listener, for engaging staff and letting them be experts, because this year has been really wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know this summer is full of planning and a lot of travel, and some of you will have vacations and some of you will still be working. So we will be here with you for that. But everyone, enjoy the sun, enjoy time with your family. I really hope that you get some time to rest and rejuvenate, because we've got a big year in front of us. And we are not going to adjourn because we are going to an executive session. But our future meeting, our next meeting will be, I think it's July 27th. Here at 6 o'clock at Swiftwater. We are moving into an executive session. The board will meet for approximately 60 minutes pursuant to RCW 42.30.110 to review the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken at the executive session, and we will adjourn when we are finished with that. So to the rest of you, good night, happy summer, go enjoy. No, I thought so too. Yeah, no, I